So as you guys make your way to your chairs, we've got a special afternoon plan. I don't think it's bad to start it with prayer. If I can ask Pastor Kelvin to come on up and just give us a few words to get the afternoon farewell luncheon off to a great start.
Will you join me as we pray? Father, we are people who are grateful. And we are encouraged to give people their flowers while they are still living and able to receive them. And so we want to thank you for the opportunity that we have to give to Eilert and Anette the flowers that they so deserve. Thank you for this opportunity to share testimonies of their lives and the way that they have poured into people here at Bedford Community Church, the way that they have been an incredible witness to your faithfulness, the way that they have helped to see your kingdom advanced, and the steps and the risks that they took in order to see this church come into existence. Thank you for the opportunity to hear memories that people will share. And Lord, we pray that this will not only be a blessing to them, but it will be encouraging to those of us who are now coming behind them to be faithful. Be faithful to your call, to be faithful to your mission, to be faithful to the task that you laid out for us. We bless them and thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be here today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Pastor Kelvin mentioned memories. We're going to have an open microphone at some point throughout the proceedings today. So if you guys can conjure up a quick little story that you might want to share about how the Ranneklevs have impacted your life, you'll have that opportunity. Good folks like Mr. Granger, who's here, Harvey, who's here. Certainly I can come up with a bunch if we needed a few, but if you have something that you'd like to share, you'll have an opportunity a little bit later as we go. You know, as I was thinking about what to say about the Ranneklevs, the word that kept coming into my mind was build. And throughout the day you're going to hear a lot about how Mr. Ranneklev built the church. You know, so often we talk about people and founders and say, oh yeah, they helped build the church. But build is often referred to and used in a figurative sense. In this case, it's a literal sense. Mr. Ranneklev built the church, the walls that surround us, the roof overhead, the doors that we walk through. And long after he and his wife and the kids are gone, their memories will linger with us forever. Tangibly, we can touch them and say, yeah, I knew the man who built that church. You're going to hear a lot about Mr. Ranneklev, but a lot, remember, as the saying goes, alongside a great man, there's a great woman. You know of her hospitality and her generosity. How many of you are aware of her culinary expertise? Yes. Look at hands raised. So think of that as the day progresses. If you need to be enlightened about that, talk to my brother. He's got countless stories about how he used to come back from football practice with Michael, from John Jay, and it didn't matter the hour of the day, that whenever he walked in the house, it was like walking into a bakery. There was always something freshly made, hot, highly caloric, and very, very sweet. And those are the great memories that Ricky and Michael can share with you about Mrs. Ranneklev. Always, 3 in the afternoon, 8 o'clock at night, midnight, something just came out of the oven. It's just phenomenal. So, lastly, before I turn it over to Joe to take you back in time, you've heard of Throwback Thursdays. Today's going to be Throwback Sunday. I'm thinking about the baby dedication this morning, and Pastor Kelvin is asking us to stand up to serve as examples for little baby Oliver. And the only thing that's running through my mind is, if you need an example, Mr. and Mrs. Ranneklev. There you go. Joe, Throwback Sunday. Take us back.
Thanks, Joe. It's my pleasure to be able to put together some slides. Can you hear me okay?
No, hold it close.
Closer? Now you can hear me. I can hear myself too. It is my pleasure to have integrated a number of slides, photos from different people, and particularly Eilert and Annette, and some of the photos from their album from the 1970s. Because there were not too many of us here today that were around in 1970 or 71. I think Jack is one of the few here, Jack Granger. So you're going to see some obvious photos from that period. And as Joe just said, you're looking at photos of things and events. And that doesn't capture everything, of course, that is behind those photos. But it's the physical evidence that we have. And it's hard to make photographs about, the spiritual content and the spiritual growth and the influence that the Anette Ranneklev family has had through the years. But we're at least going to be able to go back in time. And the photographs and so forth largely picture from 1970 through most of the 1980s. So we're not trying to capture the full 43 years of time, but mostly the first 20 years, and covering largely the two initial stages of construction. The church was built starting in 1977. It was extended in, I think, 1983, 84, roughly, and then again in 1992. And we're going to show you some of the photographs from those two. And I will provide a few comments as we go along here. And I wanted to begin with 3 newspaper articles. Richard Tompkins was the first pastor that was called in September 1971. And this was that article. We do have copies of these available. It's difficult, obviously, to read here. But if anybody wants to read more of the actual full article, they're available. This was the article when there was an announcement made in December of 1970 that early in 71, a new church would be opening in Bedford Hills. And it says Mrs. John Granger was going to be the organist. I just saw that up at the top of one of those lines there. And then this came out in the White Plains paper. The New Bedford Missionary Church is born. And the date there is January 2nd, 1971. So that was the first formal meeting of the church. Not in the building. They hadn't gotten to the building yet. This is the groundbreaking ceremony in September of 1977, where the district superintendent, Richard Bailey, is the guy on the left. No, that's Richard Tompkins on the left, this man. And the one next to him is Richard Bailey, the district superintendent. And this is the grounds looking at the parking lot. The background there is where the parking lot essentially is. And again, similar scene. I was also looking in that direction. Now this is looking to the right in front of the church. The church would be positioned to the left, the actual church building we're in. So again, this is the area immediately to the left and back is where the church exists today. A similar scene. And these are the men that were there for that groundbreaking ceremony. Bob Butler on the left, Kurt Bullock, one left to right here, Charlie Draw, Bob Brand, Eilert Ranneklev, and then Eilert Ranneklev on the right. Just note that they're each holding a shovel. There's a reason for my saying that you'll learn later. Good point, Harvey. They haven't broken ground yet. That was before they broke ground. He said there was no dirt on the shovels. This is Eilert again and Annette at that groundbreaking ceremony in the middle there. And these are some of the people that were attending the groundbreaking ceremony in 1977. 2 shots of them. And here is the initial construction phase of the portion below the sanctuary that proceeded there before the winter of 1977. And the crane raising the structural pieces for the sanctuary. The trusses, thank you. Looking for the right word there. And a second photograph. You can imagine that was not easy to do, right, in terms of getting the initial pieces together for the sanctuary. And then jumping ahead, we see it a little further stage. And the main sanctuary building on frame. So that was the early phase one of the construction. Eilert and Annette. Notice this is before the parking lot was paved, of course, in the early days. And this was the first stage after it was opened and one of the services. Here is Bob on the far right, and Eilert, and Ann, and I think it's Ann Deloria next to them. I'm not sure. This person here? That's Frida. Okay, thank you. Okay. This is Kurt and Zelma Bullock. Here's Bob with the Eilert boys. That's Neil's eyes is not correct. The software attempt to do a red eye correction, and it didn't work. And I didn't catch it in time. Maybe that was true, and I just didn't know it. I thought it was a red eye. This was the first baptism that took place in the new building, and these are the three Ranneklev kids. Lila has her head turned to the camera, and that, I believe, is Michael coming up out of the water, and Niels is waiting his turn. There were also two other baptisms sometime after that. This is Harvey Vanderlyn being baptized.
Oh my goodness. Is it?
Looks like a long time ago, doesn't it? And we have Mary Emma following him.
Oh my goodness.
And the sequence here is the sequence that it occurred, because as Bob reminded me, the head of the household is baptized first. Is that right, Harvey? And this is the wedding, Lila and Jeff getting married in 1985.
That's the last officiating or official thing
Okay. Bob was pastor here from 1976, 77, or 76, which is it? 76. And Bob was the third pastor. Richard Tompkins the first, and then Bruce Bliss the second in 73, 74. Then Bob came in 76 to 85. And then Dwight from 85. This is Bob Stanhope, and we had a children's thing that was taking place. This was in the 1982 time frame, I believe. The little snail is our son Andy. The second picture of him on the left. He was illustrating "Be patient, have patience," as a snail crept across the stage. Another group gathering of that's Lauren and Lynn Smith in the foreground, down below. Eilert's on the right, Harvey and Mary Emma. And that's the Daigles behind Harvey and Mary Emma. And Ethel Tierney, George Fulci, and Richie Detz on the left. A few years ago, a dinner gathering, Eilert, and that's Bob and Faye Brand sitting next to Eilert on the right. and Kurt and Zelma on the left.
That's the Rileys. Jenny and Margaret. Margaret and Jay Riley.
Okay. Thank you.
They lived on Willie Farm.
We're going into the second phase of construction. This was in the early 1980s, where we were expanding the sanctuary with the addition, the extension there, and doing the education wing. Have a number of shots here. Is Eilert busy? Masonry work here. And again, Eilert is that proceeding.
Is he fixing a hole that he made?
I'm not sure if he was tearing a wall down or process of modifying it. Eilert will have a chance later to comment. He will fill us in. So what counts as the end product? And the framing, as it proceeded. And then a winter scene after that was finished. And when Eilert comes up, we'll give him a chance also to explain about the God. Some of these slides reproduced in a way I couldn't understand, so just ignore the repeat here. We're going to share some additional slides from the second source. That's Frank Moore, yep, he's here, and Jack Granger. So these slides are also back in the late 70s, early 80s, in different social gatherings we had. Bob and Faye, and that's Lorena Cooper. I think that's Barb.
Yeah.
This is one of the early services in the first, when the church, before it was extended to sanctuary. That's Lauren Smith.
Wow.
This is Barry Horn is the one with the face turn there. Same pulpit, yeah. Maybe the same cross. And here's another shot of people singing. And of course, we had no pews then, it was just chairs. That's Joe Flores and Ruth behind Lauren and Lynn Smith. And you see Art Widman over on the right, Eilert in a nice blue suit. Mike Guston, Jack Granger. Yeah. And you see how short the sanctuary is. So that back wall was taken out and the sanctuary extended backward significantly. Dwight preaching. I'm not sure, it was early on. It wasn't recent, that's for sure. And I think Harvey was giving Dwight a bit of instruction, maybe his shoes were sufficiently polished or something like that.
Trying to sell insurance.
It looks like a golf discussion. Picture of young Joe and Ruth Torres.
Oh my God.
You know, I meant to say earlier, Joe was treasurer, I think, at that time. One of the things I have no pictures of is the time that Eilert served as treasurer. He was treasurer from 1971 to 1980. And there were no computers available then that could be used at home or whatever, so it was all done by hand. And as he's cleaned out things, he has shared with us all of the detail that he still had from his time as treasurer, you know, and the laborious work that went into it. There's no pictures of that, but that's another area that we're all indebted to many hard hours of labor and work. One of the things the men did for many years here was the barbecue that we had. We had, I'm sorry?
That was a good habit.
It was a good habit. What we had is a water heater that had been cut in half vertically, and the halves used as the base for a grill, and that was enough to grill steaks for everybody, and we did that each year, you know. Who wants to go back to that?
Go for it.
All right, you need to listen.
I can marry.
And the men love to do it, as you can see.
Pancake breakfast. Remember a sunrise service?
I remember sunrise services, pancake service.
Sunrise service coming?
We set, the barbecue was set up right behind the, right here.
That's hazard.
It hadn't been that long since we had it, but we've kind of gotten away from that a bit. This is Barry Horn and Marge Widman in the forefront here. I think Joe on the left. So they are dressed out in their chef hats and so forth. And we, people that were eating inside had them come down and be introduced to give their thanks. And I don't know what they were doing here exactly, but they were trying to make music with their food utensils. That was Lauren Smith, by the way, on the left. And Art Schoenwell, I hadn't mentioned his name. Here's a picture of Ainer on the left, Art Schoenwell again, and Nancy in the middle. Joe, Torres, Lauren. Is that Michael?
No.
Is that you, Michael, at the end?
That's John.
Well, that's John, okay. And I guess that's Brennan and Ann.
Yeah, that's.
I think it is Brennan, yeah. Here are the Daggles on the left, Eilert and Annette. Barbie, Marge in the background, yeah.
Father still has that shirt.
And Marge and Cheryl. Jeff, thank you. Again, Art and Marge, that's Ruth Spargo, and that's Jim and Rita Edgett, and Art Palmer. 50th wedding anniversary. And you're approaching number what? 68? 68.
Wow.
Again, Eilert and Annette and the Edgetts. I'm not sure who in the right. That's very young.
What?
This is Manny Ortiz. White. This is Barry and Joan Horn. Barry will be the first video. We have a video after this, and Barry will be the first video. He was here in the church in the early to mid '80s and chairman of the board at one point and all, and played a key role. One of the things he's best known for is this next slide, which I'm not going to explain. Some of you know what it's about. We also had some fun times. We did unusual things. And Barry was around, so he played a part. Lauren and Lynn Smith with Bob Rand. And Faye, Faye and Bob with Lauren, yes. So we had a cake at the 40 years of God Blessings, and 2 years later, so I've updated it. It's God Blessings. We are all indebted, certainly for the physical structure, but also for the leadership that Eilert has brought in the many capacities that he served the church through the years, and the ways that Annette has also contributed. So we certainly thank you for all that you've done. At this point, we want to move to the video, and Michael, I might ask you to set that up. Mess it up here. And I'll explain what you're going to see. We have 4 videos. They're fairly short. Barry Horn is the first. Maria is the oldest of Bob Butler's 4 daughters. And Eilert and Annette had provided a number of assistance, ways to assist Bob and Judy at the time that the girls were growing up. And Maria is speaking on behalf of the girls of the Butler family. She'll do the second video. Joe and Ruth Torres were making a video that is included, and there's a technical problem that kind of interrupts before they're totally finished, but we have the first half of what they were recording that we'll share with you. Ruth didn't get a chance, but Joe does speak.
And you'll all pay.
That was intentional, but I'm sure it wasn't. And the 4th video is from Dwight Ford. So, are we ready to roll? Okay.
I know.
Hi, Eilert and Annette.
This is your friend Murray Horn coming to you from beautiful, sunny Seattle. Well, not exactly sunny, but kind of sort of sunny. But anyhow, I just heard recently from some friends back in the New York area that you guys are moving to Nashville. And I just wanted to kind of take this time this morning in my office before the day starts just to thank all of you for your friendship over the years. You have done a lot to Joan and I and also to our whole family. You know, while we lived in New York, we spent a lot of time together and had a lot of great meals cooked by Annette, too many to count. A lot of great evenings in your home and just a lot of great times, both with all your kids and our kid, and we just thank you for that. You know, I think if there's one person we regret, you know, when we moved all the way out here seeing it was the Ranneklev family, because you're special people and God's really anointed you with His love and special touch with a lot of people. And I just wanted to thank you today, Eilert and Annette, for the times we spent together. You've blessed a lot of people over the years, a lot of people in the New York area, and a lot of people all over the country. I think your whole family has. And so both Joan and I want to wish you the very, very best as you leave New York, the land of the snow, and come at least to a decent place to live. Horrible weather. But anyhow, this is a new chapter for you, and can't believe you're selling the old house. And that has to be interesting. Moving is interesting, right? I've done it a few times. But anyhow, from Joan and I, and also from Julie, I spoke with Julie early this morning, and on her way to work, and all of us in the Horn family owe a lot to the Ranneklev family. You guys are special, and God's love has just, you know, you've overflowed that over the years of the time we've lent you. So anyhow, from all of us out here in Seattle, Eilert, we want to wish you, Annette, wish you the very, very best to all of the Ranneklev family. May God continue to honor you in everything you do. May you continue to bless people in everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you. I do travel a lot in my job, and I do get to Tennessee, so I'm hopeful that I can spring up there and see you one of these times. So anyhow, God bless. Have a safe trip, and let us hear from you and how it goes. Take care, Eilert, and we love you guys very much. Have a great day. Bye.
Eilert and Anette Ranneklev. What can I say? There's really no words that can express how much your family meant to me. I remember amazing breakfasts at your house. I remember the homemade bread, the honey butter, or some kind of special butter, the homemade jelly. I was excited to eat breakfast all the time. I remember Lila and her being just the best babysitter in the world, especially because she always read me my favorite book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I think I had a crush on Michael. I probably chased Niels around the church parking lot. But anyway, most of all, I have fond and vivid memories of how giving you guys were when it came to letting us affording us to go to Good Tidings Bible Conference for a week, and then as we got older, 2 weeks at a time. Those memories are like permanent in my head. They will always be something that I strive to do as my kids get older, to go away to camps. I learn Bible verses, I learn songs that I sing to Casey. Right now, at 2.5 years old, I learned archery, I learned how to shoot a gun, fishing, and I mean, it was just an amazing time. You guys were always amazing. I want to leave you with a jacked up pronunciation version of the Norwegian prayer that we used to always pray. And so, yeah, you can laugh all you want, but Yes, non gavita puss, spis dressa poridos, I give to Lara ostigan safari matti yes no namet. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to visit you really, really soon in Memphis, Tennessee, God willing, in June. And I wish you the best, and you guys are the best people I know. I love you, and have a great party.
Hello, Eilert and Anette. And this is a moment that we knew was coming, but didn't expect it. I don't know, for some reason. It's like losing a piece of the church. A piece of the church is leaving. Eilert, I served on so many boards with you, and we spent so much time together in all of our socials, and we had such good times. Remember when we hired Dwight, we both interviewed him over at Bob Brand's house, and I'm going to miss you so much, but I know that you're going to have a wonderful time with Lila, and
Eilert and Anette, I'm really glad to be a part of this celebration. I just got back yesterday from Israel, and I'm a little bit jet lagged. So if the bags under my eyes and the tone of my voice seems like I'm tired, it's only because I am tired. I do not want to miss out on this day. I remember when I first met a Ranneklev. I shook hands with a Ranneklev. And I remember my right hand came back and 3 of my knuckles felt like they were out of joint. And that was after shaking hands with Anette. Eilert, I just finished some kaka and some lutefisk. I think it's a very good meal for you to eat. It sounds more like Lawrence Welk. Eilert, I know people are probably talking about your construction, your building ability and talent, and you really did do a wonderful job building that church. I don't think people realize how much you were a part of building into that church spiritually. You and Anette were there at the very beginning, and you were on the elder board when I first got there, and were in leadership for many years. And I just thank you for your support. I thank you for your vision of what Bedford Community Church could and would be. And Anette, I thank you. Thank you for having me over, a young single pastor, having me over for dinner so many times. I always look so forward to eating at your house. It's one of the few times when I had a meal that I didn't have to shout into a box and hear somebody say, 465, please drive around. I pray for God's blessing on this next phase of your life and what God has for you. And I am so thankful that Bedford is taking the time to just really celebrate and show their appreciation and being thankful for what you have added to that fellowship. God bless you both.
Big Ruth is going to be upset.
Yeah, we're in big trouble.
Mom's going to ask, how do I look?
Who was there?
You've seen and heard about, we all know Kelvin. Most of us know Dwight. Very few of us know and have the privilege of knowing the pastor before Dwight. What an honor, what a privilege it is for us that he's here today. Reverend Bob Butler.
Don't count your age by your years, but by your friends. I'd like you just to look around and look at your friends today and count your age by your friends. Kurt and Zelma Bullock have said many times, we talk frequently on the phone, they're in Florida. They said, we have never, ever in our lives found a church quite like Bedford Hills. And we miss it terribly. We've never found a church fellowship like that. Dwight seemed to make Annette look like the bionic woman. But my 4 girls insisted that Annette has eyes in the back of her head. Is that right? She knew what when my kids were over there, she would know when Johnny and Maria went up on the roof, and so they know that she has eyes in the back of their head. Annette, you were a mom to my girls, especially after the shooting in '82 when I was in the hospital. The girls stayed there for a number of days. Little Lisa was only 2 years old, and she ran around telling people, Daddy got shoot. Daddy got shoot. That's all she could express. That's all she... And Eilert and Annette helped soothe all of those questions and what's going on. I woke up this morning with one sentence in my mind, and the Holy Spirit seemed to say, okay, before you say that, make sure it's true and you really mean it. And the sentence was this: apart from my own dear mom and dad, there is not anybody on this planet that I love more than Eilert and Annette. And God said, is that true? Do you really? Yes, that's really true. I love you so much, so much. As I've hung around the church the last couple of days, a word has been repeated by some of you, and that word is humility. That describes Eilert, humility. Just like different words describe different people. You know, Harvey can be described as generous. If you have a room that needs to be painted, Harvey will be there. So anyway, we all are, described by certain words. Eilert was on the original elder board. Eilert and Bob Brand and Kurt Bullock and Charlie Dry, Jim Edgett and Art Widman. I think I got them all. But every year, Eilert would argue with me, Bob, I don't think I should be an elder. The Bible says I should be apt to teach. And I am not a teacher like Joe Plunkett. And I don't stand behind, like I said, Eilert, you draw more water around here you teach by your life. And there's a verse in Ephesians that says, teaching one another in psalms, hymns, spiritual songs. So if someone gets up and sings a song they're teaching, well, Eilert taught by his life. Gustins are here today. Where are you, Gustins? One of your neighbors, O'Connors, they were kind of new to the church. Not seasoned Christians, but Tom said to me, he said, I see Eilert as one of 4 people on the 4 corners of the church holding it up. And that came from, I don't know that Tom was a believer at that time. So, God bless. And then, of course, Barry Horn, you saw him on the video there. So many times Barry said to me, because Julie was dating Mikey, Barry would say, how neat would it be for us to be part of the Ranneklev family? Can you imagine what that would be like, Bob? And, well, it didn't work out exactly that way. But it was how neat. Why do we love the Ranneklevs? Well, there's no one single reason, but there's a whole host of reasons. I remember one Christmas, Eilert and Annette bought me the Kittel's commentaries. I'm sure Pastor Calvin knows about that. They've been in German and they were translated into English, very expensive. They bought the set for me, and on the front of the Bible one he put Gul Yule. And I said, what? Yeah, and it's good Yule, right? Good Christmas. And so, and then, why do we love them? And many times, right out here on the sidewalk after church, Eilert would extend his hand, and let me shake your hand here, like this, and I'd feel something, and many times it would be a $20 bill, all crinkled up like that. Not a word, didn't want any thanks, but just a. And back in those days, that was a week's shopping right there. Shopping on it. Why do we love him? My daughter gave a wonderful testimony about that. The second building, when it was going up, I think Kurt was the treasurer, and he said, Bob, people don't realize, but I know because I'm the treasurer. Eilert bid on that building. He won the contract, but we were really short of money back in those days. Kurt said, Bob, Eilert is financing that, and Annette out of their own pocket to a large extent. Out of their own pocket. They won the contract, and they're financing it out of their own pocket. I just had to say that. And then after the shooting in '82, I was frightened to come back and sit on the hill all by myself. There was no staff, Calvin. And so Eilert took the garage over there on Cottage Terrace and built a beautiful 440 square foot study for me. We had our board meetings there, I counseled there, and I was afraid, I know the Bible says fear not, but I don't want to be on that end of a gun again. And Eilert, thank you very much. I used to hold the light for Eilert while he was building. I would say, Eilert, can you see okay? He said, I might see too much. Eilert, would you come forward? Come on, Eilert. Come on. Help him. Give him a hand. Give him a... Eilert has a favorite story. He didn't know I was going to call on him. You know what I'm talking about? Would you tell the story about the shovel?
It was these two guys that was down in a ditch, and there was an Italian guy standing up watching them. So the two of them is wondering. One says to the other, why are we down here doing all the work and he's up there doing nothing, making all the money? So the other guy was thinking, so said, well, I'm going to find out about that. So he had a shovel with him out. So he said to the no, I almost forgotten. Anyway.
Because you are stupid.
That's what it was.
See this face? Hit me as hard as you can. That's stupid, right?
And then he walks down in the ditch and he says to the other guy, it's because we are stupid down here and he's up there making all the money. What do you mean? They said, well, it's like this. He said, come on here. And he said, you see that shovel? Yeah. You hit that shovel as hard as you can. Yeah, they put it
I close with this. I got a phone call from Eilert 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Bob, this is Eilert, and I need prayer because I come down with this Lyme disease, and it's degenerative, and I have to use crutches to go to the bathroom. I can't walk. That hit hard. I said, this can't be, it's not fair, it's not right. My wife and I had just started a new Sunday school class, and I said, we don't know anything about the subject of fasting, but would you like to kind of learn with us? And let's pray for our friend Eilert, and I mentioned the Lyme disease, degenerative, he's not going to get any better. And so we, as a class of 40, we did the Daniel fast, which if you read it out of the King James, it says, that thine health shall return unto thee speedily, out of Isaiah. And I said, let's just do this Daniel fast. We've never really fasted, and we don't know what we're talking about, and here we are teaching it. Let's just do it for my friend Eilert. The whole class did that for a week. And before long, I got a call back from Eilert. And the message went like this. I've almost got it memorized. I don't know what to think. It is all gone. It is all gone. And I have legs like youth. So he went to his doctor in New York City who said, you know, there's no recovering from this, degenerative. And Eilert walks in and the doctor says, oh, Eilert, where are your crutches? Well, I don't think I would need them. I was on the roof yesterday blowing the leaves out of the gutter. Oh, hey, Eilert, don't go on the roof without your... What? Don't go on the roof. So I went back to the class and said, hey, I don't know about fasting, but I think God honored some childlike faith. We just, like Naaman, I don't know why I'm dipping all these times in the church. I'm just going to do it. And that's a wonderful testimony. And the last picture I have of Eilert is him holding the crutches above his head in triumph. And so what a marvelous testimony. The last story is when they were putting in, Joe, was it the trusses? Is that what the word was? The winter of 77 was awful. Awful. Just to deliver coffee to Ainer and to the others. You know, it's all I could do. And here the trusses come in and the wind is spinning like this, and the crane operator is very short-tempered with Eilert. Get that in there, put that in, just shouting, and I'm getting a little angry. And get that in, do this, do this. Eilert stops everything, he walks over to the crane and he says, you will just wait till I get the planer out to put it in the shoe. You will wait. That's patience and kindness. Last sentence I said to my 4 daughters, who each have 2 kids, I say, kids, you're married to wonderful Christian guys, you have beautiful kids. You testified about it, Maria, I know, but I just want to remind you, it is not by accident that you are where you are in the Christian life today. And I said, part of who you need to cycle back to and thank for that might be Mommy and Daddy, but you better remember Eilert and Annette, who sent you to camp every single summer. Every single summer. And it made it impactful. And with tears in their eyes, they said, that's right. And didn't Maria say, did she say, I love you more than anybody? Yeah. And my sentence still holds. There's nobody on planet Earth, apart from my mom and dad, that I love more than Eilert and Annette and the guys and my baby said it all. I love you. God bless you. That's all I have to say.
I hope a few of you had a chance to sort of recap in your mind. Harvey, you got something you want to share with us about Mr. Ranneklev? I can bring the microphone properly to you.
How much time do I have?
How much time do you have? Can you be a newscaster and do it in 90 seconds?
Yeah, for 3 or 4 years in a row, Anette and Eilert, Marianne and I, we went on vacation to Maine, Ogunquit, Maine. And we had a nice motel there. It had all of the and all of the nice things that you could do. But Eilert and I, every evening about 3:30, 4 o'clock, we would get down to the hot tub. We really, really enjoyed that hot tub. It was a good round hot tub with seats all around like this. And we had the stream coming up in the center, you know, and we just enjoyed it so much. And we happened to look up, and here were these two people coming down, husband and wife. And between them, they had about 800 pounds. They were a little bit heavy. I said to Eilert, do you think they're coming in here, Eilert? Yeah, I think so. They came in, and I said to Eilert, if they get in here, they're going to turn off the faucet. And they get in, and the water went right up over the bank. the stream going up stopped. And, you know, we thought that was funny, but, you know, when we got finished our baking in the tube, we went in, there was an inside pool. We dove in the inside pool, we swam around, and we looked up, and here come Mr. and Mrs. And they stood at the edge of the pool, and the two of them, one after the other, dived in, and they swam around there like they were fish. They were really dead, giving it everything, you know. And when we saw that, we had to laugh some more. The next trip we took, not the next trip, a couple after that, we were up in Ogunquit, and Eilert had a brand new car. And we were out eating somewhere, and we came back, and they had around the parking lot these granite stones, had very sharp edges. Well, Eilert got a little close to one of them and cut a tire almost in two on those stones. So he had a new car. He didn't know where the stuff was, the jack and all those things that you need. And the girls got out of the car first, and they said, yeah, it's flat. And I got out of the car, and I said, yes, it is flat. And then Eilert got out of the car, and he come around, and he looked, and he said, yeah, it is flat. We didn't know where to go or what to do or anything else, but there was this Christian man that was watching us, and he knew that we were having a hard time with the tire. He says, let me do it. I know exactly how to do it. And in 15 minutes, he had the tire off, the bubble on, whatever you call it, on the tire. He had that on, and then the next day, Eilert went to buy another tire. It cost him over $200 for the tire. And he come back and he says, yeah, it was a little expensive. we had a great time. And let me say one more thing about it. We would have our dinner, and then we would go walking around the way there, and we were coming up back to the hotel, or motel, whatever it was. And we were walking up very slow. And I said they had a place there where they had homemade ice cream, and it was delicious. And I said to Annette, Annette, do you think we should have some ice cream? Yeah, I think so. So the big cones, you know, here we are, 4 adults, old adults, walking up the road, each of us sucking on an ice cream cone.
You and Eilert in the hot tub. I got scared there for a second. Okay, that ended well. You saw him in the pictures. Another founder, Jack Granger. Good to see you, Jack.
Glad to be here. Glad to be anywhere. I might be the oldest person going back to know the Ranneklev. I'm not sure of this thing, except
Eilert. It goes back to Hillside Church in Ormond in 1962 when we moved up to Chappaqua, and we were looking for a place, and a group of people were starting Hillside Church in Ormond. Bill Arnold was the pastor there, and the reason I mention this is because Bill Arnold came to me one time and he said, "We want you to be a member of the church." And I was a member of my church in White Plains. I said, "I can't be a member too." He says, "We need you." I said, "Why do you need me?" He said, "Because we need a recording secretary, and everybody in Armagh was Norwegians." I could hardly understand them, much less take write in English of the minutes of our meeting. So I said, "All right, I'll be your recording secretary for about 5 years." And I mentioned Bill Arnold, because Eilert once told me that Bill Arnold was the person who brought him to Christ. He said, Bill Arnold, he was long gone. The Norwegians, Gundersons, Petersons, Larsons, Nielsen's, Ranneklevs, Gunderson, right? Erling Gunderson was the head contractor, but that's beside the point. Okay, in the summer of 1970, maybe you've heard some of this before, 4 of us just started meeting in houses up around this area. The Grangers, the Vogers, the Wrights, and the Gaelics. And we met with the district superintendent, whose name was Eulinger at the time. And after we got organized because we lived up here, we wanted to have a church up in this area, and we were all members of Hillside. And we got together, and one of the first families that came along after we sort of organized were the Ranneklev, Anette and Eilert, along with the Brands, maybe the Bullocks, and a few other people like that. And we just had a small group. And I just want to mention that the first service we had was in the Bedford Community House, which is right down the road, in the first week of January of 1971. And that's when we started getting together. We had a small group. And we had an 11 o'clock service and a 7 o'clock service at the community house. And we had to take the chairs up. We had to put the books away. We had to sweep the floor. And after that, we would go to various houses for coffee and dessert. And just about every other week, somebody would say, "Let's go to the because Annette makes fabulous desserts." People have said that, so I don't want to repeat it. But that happened for a while. And then, again, other people have mentioned this in the fall of 1977. It broke ground and we started building that church, which was way over there. And Eilert was there, and it was winter time, and it was so cold. Eilert would be up on the roof, he'd be hammering. I'd come up on a Saturday or Sunday, not a Sunday, a Saturday and a day off from work. And Eilert would be hammering around, and it would be like 20 degrees, 25 degrees. And I remember Eilert saying, "Time for a coffee break." This man had more coffee, drank more coffee than anybody I've ever known in my life, because it was so cold. He built this, he built this. What a tremendous legacy he's left with us.
Anyone else have a?
Joe,
Yes, sir.
they called that coffee that they drank,
Call the coffee that they drank, yes?
they called it Norwegian gasoline.
Norwegian gasoline. Yes, Richie Detz.
You were talking about Annette's baking and stuff.
Yes.
Well, I used to take the youth up to Good Tidings, and I always wanted John in my car. John used to come with a bag of sweet rolls. 2 dozen of sweet rolls. I never made it more than a half hour. It was supposed to last for a whole weekend up at Good Tidings. They were gone in the first half hour. That's how good they were. Everybody here that had a piece of her cake knows what we're talking about.
Ron Nargi, come on up here. chair.
You probably don't even recognize me. Sometimes I don't even recognize me. Joe didn't recognize me. He said, "Who are you?" I'm not a terrorist. I'm not homeless either. But the Radicals built my home, and before I was a Christian, I probably was a little terrorist. Michael reminded me on the drive over here that I was a bully, and I wasn't always nice, and I did things that got me in trouble all the time. But that never stopped them from loving me. I remember, and you probably can't even imagine this, a little 7, 8-year-old boy who's bleeding from his legs because he cut it on some glass, and Mrs. Ranneklev just scooped me up in my arms, and her arms, and she ran down the path to the back of my house, and you all make fun of their accents, but I don't hear those accents. Those are words of comfort. And she says, "It'll be okay, Ronnie. It'll be okay." Later, when I was 15 years old, my mom said, "Could you go over to the Ranneklevs for dinner tonight?" I didn't realize that was the night that she was going to tell my dad that she wanted a divorce. And I was the youngest of my family, and that was my home. I spent a lot of nights in there. And as a matter of fact, I spent last night in the room that Michael shared the gospel with me back in 1980. So it's really hard to see them go. I've been on jobs with Mr. Ranneklev working. I remember seeing him, down in a foundation, digging forms and setting forms for footers, and it just seemed like he would do that forever. I don't know how long the longest house that you built, but it seemed like in my mind that sometimes he'd be at a house for like 2 years or longer. And I said to him once when he was down there digging forms, I said, "How do you do it? How do you stay focused, through the cold winters and everything? How do you know? How do you keep thinking?" We're in a society that everybody wants something very quickly. These are long-term people. These are people that have the big vision. And he just told me, he said, "Well, when I'm down there, I know what the house is going to look like. I see what it looks like in my mind. So I just need to build it." I mean, look at this church. When he was building that, he was already seeing this. And he was seeing God's glory in all this. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Ranneklev. Love you.
Thank you, Rob. Joanne?
As I'm getting older, I don't really like to do this anymore, going before people, but I have to say that I came here as a baby. I was not a baby, but in my early 20s. My whole adulthood has been here. I mean, somewhat at Ridgeway, because my husband got saved there afterwards. Anyway, when I came here, I had the privilege to work with the teenagers, and Ron was one of them, who was white-knuckled on a flight somewhere when we were going to a life conference. I'll never forget that. But anyway, it's been such a privilege. There are a number of the Rannekleves are one, the Brands, to have known them, to be part of the Bullocks, seeing them in action, building a church. I was all foreign for me. I was from a different background. But the Ranneklevs, even when I had my firstborn, Annette was in the nursery every Sunday. It was such a gift. Every Sunday I could just drop him and know that he was in such good hands. And when we went out with the kids, she took him. She took care of him. And I'd come and go pick him up in one of her bedrooms, and he'd be like a little butterball because he was so warm, because their place was really warm, and I had this, old cold house. But it was like, I have such precious memories like that when I had the dedication for my children. Annette came over and showed me how to make the cake, which was unbelievable. And if anybody had the privilege of having one of her cakes, it was like, it's such a privilege. The best cake in the whole world. And I remember a story of Eilert told, and I don't know if you mentioned this, about you were up one time on one of the rafters and you had, I guess, the drill went on by mistake. Do you remember this? And it almost cut the wood that you were on. Do you remember that story? Right, nothing. But God protected him so many different times in different ways. And Annette was my first babysitter. But really one of my first sweet friends here. Lila. And along with Annette, I had the privilege of being. Anyway, all that to say that they are such wonderful people. And it's been such a privilege to live under you guys, to watch you guys, to be a part of our lives. So thank you.
I don't know how late we want to go. If everyone told a story, we could be here till time eternal. Yes?
Just one more story.
One more story, real quick?
As a mom,
Go ahead.
my rambunctious teenage young man was pretty rowdy one night during the service, in service. Somebody, with his congregation, I was like so mortified. And then I turned around, and who was behind me? Anette and Eilert. And they just smiled at me, and they were like, don't even think about it. It was just like, don't even think about it. It's okay. And thank you for your unconditional love. You are an example.
Amen. I don't want to end without giving the microphone to you both and give you an opportunity to say something. And before I do that, if you've never heard this man laugh, you haven't lived. Eilert Ranneklev. I think he... Yes, you're going to go. But let me just say, I think he built the church so it would withstand the vibrations when he laughed. Eilert Ranneklev, a few words, and then you can pass it to your brother.
You people have heard a lot of good stuff about Eilert and Annette. But I'm going to tell you some stories from when we were kids. Eilert and I were dear brothers, and we walked during World War II. A little bit louder. We walked during World War II, and it was very difficult to buy clothes. Because if you didn't have the permission from the town, to the card from the town, you could not buy a pair of shoes. That's right. And it didn't matter how much money you had, that didn't count. Now, both Eilert and myself, we had worn outdoor shoes, and I got a permit for one pair of shoes. So my mother, she went in, took me, we went in, and I got a pair of shoes. Not big enough the way she normally does, I could go into them, but just big enough that I could use them, and then Eilert could use them too. And what happened was that we went to school every other day. And one day he decided he would get a free ride on the bus, in the back of the bus. And he caught on to the ladder that went on the top. And the bus did not stop where it normally stops, so he had to hang on there all the way to town. And now he had just about 3 times longer ride back to the school, and he was running late. And when you get to school, he was 1.5 hours late. And he went up to the teacher, I have to leave so because I need a shoes to go to the doctor. Yeah. And I have another thing that on my mind from the year during World War II. We have been down one place not too far from home, and as we got close to our house, on a small hill there was a German truck standing. And you know, they had this grill in the front of the truck, and if you took your hands like this, and I don't know who did it first, Eilert or me, that I don't know. But we both did it, or whoever was the last one that did it, happened to look up, and here is a German fellow sleeping inside. You can imagine how scared we were. Because I think he was about 10, I was about 12 at that time. So you know, it doesn't take much to scare you. And here he come out with a gun. And I'll turn around, Einar, run zigzag, because then he can't hear us. And you know, we run and up in the woods, and he was using the blank, you know. It was that was what he was using in the gun. We ran through the woods and back home, and were sitting there escaping, both of us, so scared. Now we sit down for dinner that night. Well, here comes a knock on the door, and in come 2 German officers. He got so scared, and I didn't realize what was going on. He was just dropped right on the floor, under the table, so I couldn't see him. And here he come back up again, and the German soldier officer looked at him, or us, because they were there to find out if we had room for some officers on the farm. He just looked around, and you know, 10 kids around the table, said, no room here, no room. There was always, but he got scared, so did I.
Well, I certainly don't know how to say thank you to everybody that has been part of doing this. I mean, this is just too much for anybody to really take in. And all I can say is that what you people have done for us here today would be, I guess, more fitting if I had passed on. Because no one that is still alive would really have this kind of a celebration. This is just too much, and I don't know how to really express my gratitude to all you guys, people that have been part of this, and I don't know how to say it. But I just say thank you, and thank you, and thank you. And I mean, it's just too much.
Okay. All I can say to you is thank you so much for everything. And you, Ronnie, you talked about how you loved us, and you have to remember that we still love you. It doesn't matter what, and we called you, I don't know if you remember, well, at the end we called you for our son. And we still feel that way. It is so nice to see you all the time, and I know my boys, they just love you. And I talked about the children and the nursery and all that, and that's because I just love children. I am the oldest one out of 10. Wow. And so I was used to my brothers, my sisters, when I married Eilert. And it was just so wonderful when we have children, and I am so thankful for each one of them, for Nils, Michael, John, and Lila. I just thank you and praise you for each one of them. They have been so good to us, and always, and they still are. Thank you so much for all the help that you have given to us for this week and the week before that. And I thank you for Einar, for Jen, for Eilert. You know how much they love each other too. And I just thank you for each one here that have done what they did for us today. And it's incredible what they have done. And thank you again. And I don't know what else to say. I love each one of you here, and I know everybody loves us both. And we will be back maybe sometimes now and then, I don't know. But we will see you again, and if you want to, you can come and see us. Okay.
Harvey wants to say one more thing. Just one. We need to close things out.
I've got to tell this because we spent so much time together. My wife comes from a family of 14, and Eilert's family was a pretty big too. But he used to tell us he got a hold of an old tractor, and there were some people in the town that would drive their cars up on a sand dune and just leave it there. There would be 3 or 4 cars up on the sand dune. So when the men were out fishing or whatever they were doing, Eilert and his friends, his boyfriends, went up to the sand dunes and pushed those cars over the other side. Now, when the guys came, they couldn't get their cars out of there. So Eilert and his kit and caboodle, they came up for $5 and cars out.
Thanks, everyone. We are going to close things out here. We have one more person to come, and then we're going to have cake and coffee being served. So Lois has just a few comments she wants to make.
Jesus had a lot to say about how we should live. And he didn't seem to care much what people said. And so they could talk all day about something, and it didn't really matter. Only what mattered for Jesus was that your life lived up. So I want to just mention 4 things really quickly, and let's see how the Ranneklevs live up to what Jesus was interested in. One time Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth." And I think in many of the stories we've heard today, we've seen that leavening, that preserving, that goodness. With salt, you don't see it when you're eating it, do you? But you sure miss it if it's not there. And so I think Eilert and Anette, you guys have been salt of the earth, and that's a very deep compliment. Secondly, Jesus said, "Be careful not to do your acts of righteousness before men to be seen by them." And as long as I've known Eilert and Anette, which is not as long as some of you, but they've always been people who have been meek in the truest, deepest sense of that word, and full of humility, as you've heard today, always going about their work without mentioning themselves and without requiring others to give them glory for that. They are regular people, and it always impresses me in Scripture how Jesus was most impressed with just the regular person and their faith and how they demonstrated their faith. And again, he's not necessarily impressed because someone's a pastor or a leader of some kind, but he's impressed by how people live. And I think that Elijah on Mount Carmel, after that big contest between Baal and God, Elijah was really on a high. He was the leader, and he was on a high. And then I don't know if you remember that afterwards he got very despondent, and he thought God left him. And he said, "Oh, poor me," basically. And he said, "I'm the only one left." And God sort of gave him a little slap on the face and said, "You know what? There's 7,000 people in Israel who have not bowed their knee to Israel." And those were the regular people. Those were the people in the village living every day in faithfulness. And so that has also characterized you. And then lastly, as we've heard many times today, but just your attitude of servanthood. Jesus said, big people who think they're really something, they lord it over each other. And he said, but not so with you. You should serve one another. If you want to be first, be last. And Jesus even goes so far as to say, when a servant does everything that they should do you think that servant should be thanked? And Jesus said, no, they shouldn't be thanked. They should say, we are only unworthy servants, and have the privilege of serving. And I think that that has been your orientation. Even today, before our meal, Eilert came up to me and he said, "I'm not worthy. Why are you doing this for us?" And they see themselves as unworthy servants, but in the eyes of God, they're worthy. I'm quite sure that in heaven, whenever that time is that they meet up with Jesus, that he will say, "Well done, good and faithful servants." So I just think we should maybe all together say that to them today. Well done, good and faithful servants. If you agree, let's say it together. Well done, good and faithful servants.
Thank you, Lois. What a good way to end. And now we have some cake and coffee that as soon as we get a picture made of it, we'll be ready to offer it. And let's have the Ranneklev table go first to have some cake. Okay. We're going to make a picture of Eilert and Anette. Okay.
Hello, Anette and Eilert. Paul Evangeline here. Just want to tell you how much I love you both. I'm going to miss giving my kisses to you, boyfriend Eilert, every Sunday, and certainly miss your smiling face, Anette, at MOPS. You were always so incredibly wonderful at MOPS, feeding our women, helping the moms. Appreciate you so much. We'll miss you a lot. Take care.
Last Christmas, I met Mark Ranneklev over here.
Okay.
And ever since...
Mark Ranneklev, say hello.
Hello.
Okay.
And ever since then, me and him played drums together, told funny stories, and had fun.
Are you going to go visit them when down in Florida or Tennessee, wherever they are? You can do that sometime? That'd be good. Good friendship. All right, thank you.
My name is Harvey Vanderlyn. This is my wife, Mary Emma. We have known the Ranneklevs for just almost 40 years. And we know an awful lot about them. We have gone on vacation with them to Maine and different places, and we always had a great time.
Well-timed sneeze there.
And we always had a great time. I can tell you about the time that we were coming back from lunch, and Eilert made too quick a turn around with granite blocks.
We were in
We were in a motel there, and the girls got out of the car and they said, "You got a flat tire, Eilert?" And then Annette said, "Yeah, it's flat." And then Eilert gets out of the car and he says, "Yeah, it really is flat." Then we tried to fix it. He had a new car, and we couldn't know where everything was. We don't know where the tools were or anything else, but there was a Christian gentleman was watching us having a difficult time, and he came over, he knew where everything was, he jacked the car up, in a period of about 15 minutes we were ready to go again. And Eilert said, "No, is God good? He's done that."
Amen. God is good. Thank you, guys.
Eilert, and it's so great to have you with us. You've been such a blessing to us in the church. I really appreciate being with you in classes and all the things that we've done together. God bless and have a great time in Tennessee.
Thank you.
I always remember your key word about honeydew, and every time seeing you at a church all these years, it's always a pleasure and a happy moment just to see you smile. And we've known you so many years, and so we'll miss you. Debbie is not here, but she'll be back soon.
Hey, Eilert and Annette, thank you so much for all you've done for Bedford, and we'll miss you a lot.
Hi, Eilert and Annette, thank you for your faithfulness. We will miss you. Thank you for your work here.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
You're really the couple.
Hey, Eilert and Annette, Pelly, thank you for all of the things that you've helped me with in the church over the last couple of years, and for everything that you've done for the last 50 years.
And Eilert, I just want to say thank you for your smile every Sunday morning. And Annette, God bless you. We'll miss you both.
My name's Louise. This is my husband, John. John's been a member here for a long while. We just got married a month ago in the church. And I just met Annette this morning. She actually sat next to me in church, and I introduced myself. And she said, "I'm Annette." So I said, "Oh, you must be the lady who's we're celebrating today."
I've known Eilert for a long time. He was probably one of the first people I met. He came to our house when we first started coming to the church many, many years ago, and he's always made me feel welcome. Always had nice conversations with me.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm Mary, my husband Bill. Been coming to the church for about 5 years, I guess, and got to know the Ranneklevs a little bit from the Sunday school programs we were attending, and just want to say thank you so much for building this beautiful church and laying the foundation for a wonderful congregation. It's one of the best we've ever been to, and we're pleased to be able to be here to wish you all our best in years to come. Thank you.
Ann and Bill McRae, you remember, we go way back. We were here at the very beginning, just like they were. Of course, he built the church, but we were here, and Pastor Bob Butler baptized me and my daughter. It was a beautiful night. It's been years and years since we've known each other. God bless you. Good luck out in Tennessee. We'll be thinking of you a lot. Okay? We love you. Bye.
Hi, it's Carol and Jim Calabro. Hi, Anette and Eilert. We're going to miss you. I don't remember how long it is that we've known you, but I know that you were probably at Hillside Church, or we were at Hillside Church before you came here to build this church.
We helped him build this.
Yeah,
We didn't help him build this.
Anyway, Annette, I have loved working with you for Knit for Kids, and I'm going to miss you terribly. And we have wonderful memories of you, and and my kids have wonderful memories of your kids. And so we just wish you the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What is it? Tell your grandparents how difficult it is so that they can really sympathize with you. We're rolling, by the way.
Well, we can always cut things out.
You can always cut things out, yeah, but don't count on that because your uncle's doing the editing, so he won't do that. He wants to embarrass you as much as possible. They will show this video in 20 years, and they'll be laughing at your haircut.
I can say something really embarrassing about him, and then he's going to delete it.
Only the part that you say that's embarrassing, that's it. He's a smart guy.
Dang it.
So,
but you're giving him ideas as well.
Who's this guy in the middle? He's not even related. What are you doing here?
He's Brandon.
Who are you?
He's the boyfriend.
The boyfriend? Yeah. Well, let's just see how long you last, buddy. I know Nils. He's gonna be tough on you. He's nice now, but
he may not have a gun, but he has a machete.
That's right. He's got the Norwegian mafia. You know, you don't really want to know what happens. They just build a little house for you and then bury you in it. So that's what Norwegians do. What do you guys want to say to your grandparents?
Good luck.
Good luck.
We love you, baby.
Yes, that's
You're gonna go and visit them in Clarksville?
Yes, hopefully.
That's good. Visit your aunt. So, all right.
I can't wait to visit you in Tennessee.
Good. All righty, you guys are off the hook. Yeah, now I do.
You do. Well, hi. We are so glad to can you see us?
Yes.
We're really glad to be here. And Anette and Eilert, we are so grateful and privileged to have known you. You've helped us, given us advice in raising our kids. And boy, we have fun with your kids too when they were growing up. We're just really thankful. May the Lord bless you guys. You have a good memory? You have a good memory.
It's been wonderful. I still miss those rides to and from elders meetings where we could chat. It was great.
All right, Pete and Debbie McMillan, thank you. How long have you known the Ranneklevs for?
Not too long.
Your whole life? That's amazing. A year? That's great. All righty, well, Ranneklevs love children. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ann Gurman, and I am so glad that they've been part of our small group. I've enjoyed getting to know them, and I am actually kind of jealous that they are moving south where it's warmer. I hope to move south one day too. I wish you the best.
Perfect.
Ron Davidson, wish you all the best of luck in your new adventures. Safe travels. Hope you enjoy Tennessee.
All righty, thank you.
Hi, I'm Becky Barnes Davidson, and like Ann, I've really enjoyed getting to know you in our small group and at Super Bowl parties. And I loved Annette's almond cake, and just know that we love you, and we hope to move south too.
That's wonderful.